Debbie can speak.
If I could ask everybody to settle down. Thank you so much. So I can see there's a little bit of interest in my being here, and I appreciate that interest.
While there have been far too many quotes on the subject over the generations, mankind struggles to make sense of this thing called coincidence. Officially interpreted as a remarkable occurrence of events or circumstances without apparent casual connection. In other words, nothing more than blind luck or happenstance, maybe an act of God, maybe even something mysterious working in the universe that was destined to happen because of some other higher power, be it one of dark or light. In a word, hogwash. Here's another, balderdash. How about a third word, nonsense? Common sense and simple reasoning will reveal every time there is no such thing as coincidence. There is no such thing as an accidental placement or confluence of events, because logical and planned reasoning leads us to be in a certain place at a certain time surrounded by certain events. And had one link in that chain been cut, then the entire premise falls apart, because everything that happens is the conclusion of calculated, planned, and well thought out moves. In the end, leading us all to the point where we would like to think of coincidence as the reason, but it is all as we have led it to be. How's that for deep thoughts to begin the program, huh? All of this leads us to where we are at the American political moment, the Democratic National Convention beginning, and a perfectly timed release of emails that have forced the left to suddenly realize when it comes to chaos, we're no better or worse than our brethren on the right. What's your take on the issue involving the DNC, the takedown of Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and the Democrats planning to ensure Hillary Clinton got the nod? Get on the line right now, ready to deal out your comments at 1-877-Newsmax, 1-877-639-7629. We begin there by going live to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the city of which W.C. Fields said, "I once spent a year in Philadelphia. I think it was on a Sunday." Spending the next 3 days in Philly is the Newsmax chief Washington correspondent and the man who soon will know the wonder of cheese whiz, the culinary kind and the verbal kind. John Gizzi is back on the hard line. All right, John, I know you got a whole lot going on behind you here. I'm going to begin right away with a soundbite here. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the aforementioned, was supposed to call the convention to order today. Pulled from the convention at almost the last minute, and Baltimore Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake did it this way.
Blake, Mayor of the great city of Baltimore and Secretary of the Democratic National Committee and temporary Secretary of the Democratic National Convention. I hereby call the 47th Quadrennial Democratic National Convention to order.
John, was there any doubt whatsoever that no matter the fact that Debbie Wasserman Schultz was hanging around this morning, she said she was going to be there to open up this convention, no way they were going to let her do this. This would have been a massive disaster.
You've heard the saying, DOA, dead on arrival. Debbie Wasserman Schultz was DAB, dead at breakfast. She was booed at the breakfast of her own Florida delegation. Repeatedly, her name was disparaged at meetings of delegates all day in Philadelphia, and it was very clear she was not going to appear in public. Discussion is more whether she can survive her primary from a Bernie Sanders supporter on August 30th than whether she'll show up at the convention at all.
I'm going to talk about Bernie Sanders in a moment, but let me get the opinion that you are getting from people on the floor and the people that you talk to, John. Is it fair to say that Debbie Wasserman Schultz has now, Ted Cruz, they say, may have committed political suicide, but this certainly looks like a much more dangerous and deep, dark hole to come out of?
Well, let's put it this way. On the bus to the convention hall, as I was getting my credentials, I heard comments repeatedly about Debbie Wasserman Schultz, outgoing Democratic National Chairman and Congresswoman from Florida. Her performance doesn't do a lot to advance her momentum, let's put it that way. And as I said, it is unlikely she will be a visible figure at the convention, and more likely she will have the fight of her life in the primary next month. My guess is this is her swan song.
So let's get to what's going on behind you now. Politico this morning, the headline read, Democrats in chaos as convention opens. John, do you get a sense that there's chaos on the floor?
Absolutely. This is supposed to be Hillary Clinton's convention. very much as 1992 and 96 were her husband's convention. A coronation, it's called. But how can it be called a coronation when Congressman Elijah Cummings, a distinguished veteran of the Civil Rights Movement and chairman of the Platform Committee, cannot even read the introduction to the platform without being interrupted by cries of Bernie, Bernie, Bernie. It reminds me very much of the 1968 Democratic Convention when Hubert Humphrey's nomination was fait accompli, but protesters of the Vietnam War wanted to make their point no matter who was speaking.
So then let's talk about the elephant in the room, or maybe the donkey in the room might be better. Bernie Sanders, who spoke to protesters outside of the convention, and here's what he said.
We have got to defeat Donald Trump, and we have got to elect Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine. Trump is a danger for the future of our country and must be defeated. And I intend to do everything I can to see that he is defeated.
But here's the follow-up to that, John. Bernie Sanders can do all he wants, but the Sanders supporters are out there chanting, hell no, DNC, we won't vote for Hillary. They're holding up signs with banners proclaiming help end establishment politics, vote no on Hillary. How is Bernie Sanders going to get these people who really feel as if they've been dumped on to follow his lead? First of all, not to protest, which they seem to be ready to do. Second of all, vote for Hillary when the hate is palpable here.
Well, many of the delegates I talked to come around to saying they'll vote for Hillary in the end because they loathe the idea of Donald Trump succeeding Barack Obama with the keys to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. That said, they want a lot of concessions out of the former Secretary of State, even though she is the de facto and almost certain nominee. These include many economic concessions. They also seem more focused on working for Democratic Senate candidates to get the 4 seats they need for control of the Senate and make Bernie Sanders Budget Committee chairman. Now again, there seems to be more enthusiasm for lower ticketed offices and forcing the Democratic nominee to adhere to the platform than there is for Mrs. Clinton herself.
Don, I got about 90 seconds, and I got to take phone calls from some folks here. So let me ask you this. The latest polls are showing Donald Trump did get the bump that everybody thought he would. As a matter of fact, in some of the poll averages, he is now leading Hillary Clinton. At the very opening of this show, I mentioned the word coincidence here with regard to this email issue. Is it fair to say that the people you talk to will tell you this is no coincidence? This was released at the right time. The Russian government, if they're involved, whomever is involved, knew exactly what they were doing to go right at the heart and stick a dagger in the DNC.
Ed, I'd be less than honest with you if I didn't say I heard versions of that throughout the day. And some went a bit further, saying Vladimir Putin knew what he was doing to release this at the point he did. Again, with no evidence, and people always putting up the caveat, I don't believe in conspiracies. But once again, this is always coupled with a feeling less of defense for Hillary Clinton than she's got some lessons to learn before the convention is over. As I said, it can't truly be called Hillary's convention.
We are going to find out here in the next few days and certainly tonight to see if they can bring things together quickly. But I love it. We got 2 political conventions. It's chaos all around. It makes it entertaining for those of us who cover such things, and certainly for you. Don't forget, John Gizzi. Make sure to read all of his material from Philadelphia and inside the Beltway. Go to Newsmax.com. John is going to join us here at the top of the show all week long, every night, right here on the Hardline. John, thanks so much, my friend. Have a good night. Have a good cheesesteak somewhere down the line.
Can't wait for it.
All right, here we go. We only got a couple of minutes left. Let's sneak in a couple of phone calls at 1-877-Newsmax. Rich leads off from White Plains, New York. No difference between Hillary and Bernie policy-wise. Explain yourself, Rich.
Well, Ed, I don't know what the Bernie people are so upset about because the Democrat Party took a hard left-hand turn when Obama got elected 8 years ago, and the last semblance of a moderate Democrat was Bart Stupak when he tried to opposed the provision to fund abortion, and he got rolled over. So, you know, they should call the Democrat Party the Socialist Party now, and there are only very fine distinctions between Hillary and Bernie.
Quickly, do you think, I'll give you 10 seconds, do you think any Bernie supporters will vote for Donald Trump being so mad at Hillary Clinton?
I think they're making noises that way, but I think it just sends chills up their spine to think about voting for a Republican, any Republican.
I think it does at that. Thanks so much for the call, Rich. Carolyn is in Palm Harbor, Florida. Carolyn, I got 30 seconds for you. You think the DNC email hack shows the rigged system. Come on, Carolyn, don't you think it's rigged all around anyway? Of course they wanted Hillary there. They don't want to put a socialist into their Democratic nomination.
Well, I'm going to tell you what they have shown is that it is a very rigged system.
All around.
And it's disgusting.
All around, though. I mean, we're not just talking about one system. Why would let me answer me very briefly. The Democrats wouldn't want to put a socialist in charge of their party, so it has to be rigged, right?
You know what? If they had a Democratic nominee, they both should have got a fair shot.
I agree. I absolutely agree with that, but I'm going to tell you, the people sitting up at the top of the Democratic Party did not want this Vermont socialist taking their platform away from them. That is fair to say. Thanks for the call. The alleged connection between Trump and Putin, again, no coincidence. Next on The Hardline.